Greetings. Well met again. I am back for another day of drinks, another day of tales. Haha. Gotta love these tales. Alright, so now I know where I left off. We were talking about the King's Quest in order to get some adventurers to wrangle down some troublesome things within the realm, and yeah, that's kind of where we left off. Anyways. Alright, so what I want to do is introduce the adventurers, or at least what I've been able to figure out are the adventurers from these quests. Some of them are accurate, some of them are not. And, some of them, I'll be completely honest, are kind of filling in the space because some of them are no longer, well, this took place several hundred years ago, so none of them are with us anymore, but there are some of them that fell off before the end of this quest. Alright? So, that said, let me introduce the main players of this play. First, we've got Herrick, the Shifter. If you don't know what a shifter is, well, I'll make it real simple. Shifters are a race that are long descended from natural lycanthropes, like werewolves, were-tigers, stuff like that, right? So they're not actually werewolves or were-tigers, but they're long descended from those beings, right? And then we have Umbrella, the Shadow Gnome. I'm not completely sure that she was part of the original group, but she is what I could find a reference to. So, I mean, it's kind of what happens when you're digging up stories from centuries ago. Now, next we've got Mardak the Cleric, right? Mardak is, well, let's just say he doesn't last too terribly long in this story. Alright, and last but not least, we have Saphira, the silver half-dragon monk. I mean, honestly, if you could think of anything that's more kinky than a silver half-dragon monk, I got nothing else to say on it. Alright, but going back to the point. So the King's Quest. So he had, trying to remember, I think 5 different tasks. I might have to go back into my history books to look again, but I believe it was 5 different tasks that were arranged for these adventurers to undertake in order to make the realm safe for the traveling prince and his soon-to-be wife. Now, what were these quests? Well, first, there was a trouble with a growing tribe of orcs and ogres. Ogres. If you don't know what an ogre is, just orc and ogre. I don't need to provide any more details. This is supposed to be kid-friendly. Okay. And then this tribe was a bit north of the capital at a village called Raven's Bluff. And so basically the entire point of this was for them to go up, let this tribe know that it needs to behave, however that needs to be done. Okay, so the second task, just west of the capital, there is a town called, it still is called this today, but it's called Green Hope. And there was, it's a farming community, but there was a rash of ANCAG sightings. And if you don't know what an ANCAG is, well, let's just say they're not something you want running around in your farm. Picture the worst of pests, and yeah, no, that's definitely not something you want hanging around in your farm, because it'll eat all of your crops. All right, it'll just munch everything. Now, okay, so south of the capital, there is a arid stretch of land called a desert, right? But there was rumors that there was a blue dragon taking up residence there. Yeah. What kind of tale would I tell if there wasn't a dragon involved in some manner or another, right? The entire backbone of most bards. No, it's not their backbone. It's the backbone of their storytelling. There's dragons involved somewhere, because everybody loves dragons, especially bards. But, okay, bad jokes aside, there was also a report to the northeast, which I will say to the northeast is the direction you would have to go to reach the opposing realm of Fainur. Fainur being that realm that we talked about last time that was heavily involved in the assassination of King Draven Arengoth. And then to the southwest, there was also a trouble area in a town called, I'm blanking on it right now. Not a town, a village. It's a village, okay? And that village was called Malthorn. Ha! There it is, Malthorn. In Malthorn, that village still exists, but it is a small village. And I will tell you that one of the people that I mentioned earlier, Herrick the Shifter, he came from Malthorn. I'm not entirely sure where the rest of them came from, but I will tell you that I think Mardak was just somebody that was a resident of the capital. It wouldn't surprise me. He's a human after all, and humans tend to congregate together. So, now, before I get further into this tale, because this is where things really, the adventure really begins, as they say. Now, I'm going to take a moment here, and I'm going to go get a drink, because, I'm at a bar. I need a drink at a bar, right? Alright. Drink in hand. Now let's pick this back up where I left off. Alright, so, King's Little Missions. No, I'm sorry. King's Son's Little Missions. Honestly, probably the King's Missions, but you know what? It is what it is. Alright, so, these adventurers, they didn't even have a party name. That should tell you how this whole thing started out. Now, they were, to their credit, somewhat economical when it came to their traveling. They thought, let's go north first, see what we could find out about these ogres, and then come back down, get to the capital, resupply if needed be, and then we'll just pop over to Green Hope, take care of this Ankeg issue, and we can kind of go south from there to see what's up with this blue dragon. So, they did exactly that. They went north first towards Raven's Bluff. When they got up there, I mean, it was exactly what you would expect for negotiations with, a small, because it was small, tribe of orcs, some ogre muscle, and their ogre kin. Now, yeah, like I said, exactly what you would expect out of it. Don't do that anymore. Stop us. Okay, we'll stop you. They did. Simply put. So then, after the peaceful negotiations with the orc tribe, came south, got to the capital, got some new supplies, rations and all that kind of stuff. Then they just popped over to a little bit west to Green Hope, where they took care of the Ankeg problem. Green Hope is a farming community, which just Ankegs love farming communities because they're omnivorous creatures, I think, and they'll eat crops. They also eat livestock. They also eat adventurers, whatever they can consume. Well, in this particular case, there were some Ankegs causing some issues, and they were trying to develop a nest. I guess you could call it a nest. I think they're too big to call an anthill, but a nest. So these adventurers, these brave souls, went into the Ankeg's nest, and I mean, would like to say they negotiated with the Ankegs, but that would be inaccurate. I mean, you don't negotiate with Ankegs. You just, how shall I phrase this? Forcibly evict them. Okay, so that issue was taken care of. Then they moved a bit south to get to the arid area, the small little desert section where the rumors of the blue dragon were there. Now, was there actually a blue dragon? I will give you just a real simple answer and say yes. As a matter of fact, yes, there was. There was a blue dragon there. He was not nice. He was also young. Okay? This was not some great, massive worm of a dragon. No Smog-esque dragon. Yes. Even in this world, we've heard of the Great Smog. But it's just a young, barely out of the nest, so to speak, blue dragon. It did what blue dragons do. It started doing what blue dragons do, using tricks, hallucinations, little bits of magic to make the adventurers nervous about their surroundings before it started flying by and blasting them with its breath weapon. I mean, these adventurers, they were not prepared for a aerial fight. So, the only thing that they could think to do, which actually turned out to be pretty smart, It wouldn't have worked with an older dragon, but with this young dragon, it worked. They they played to its ego, telling it that it could not stand against them in a, toe-to-toe fight. It was too much of a coward, and yada yada yada.
How dare you!
Well, blue dragons are notorious as being very, I guess you'd use the term lawful. They do not like to go back on their word. So, when this dragon, still not visible to him, came out and said, "Oh, you think you can fight me? Okay, well, let's do a toe-to-toe fight." And the adventurers said, "Okay, we'll fight under one condition. You have to stay on the ground. You cannot fly away like a coward, because that is a coward's way to fight." This young blue dragon, still fully susceptible to its own ego, agreed. And so they fought. And, well, I don't know how else to say it. The blue dragon lost. Which, honestly, was not all that surprising. I mean, they basically took away its most valuable weapon in this situation, which was the ability to fly. I mean, up until they grounded it, so to speak, the dragon was just boom, 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 and just backing away. They had no chance to win that fight until the dragon made the mistake of staying on the ground. I mean, it is what it is. You play to your enemy's weakness whenever you can. Now, at this point, the adventurers were able to stay kind of in that area, and they did kind of a circular grid-style exploration of the nearby area, where they found where the dragon was, I guess you could say, layered up. Now, this wasn't a lair, okay? It wasn't a cave where the dragon was going in and hiding, because it's a blue dragon and it likes the sand. But they found the area where this dragon was calling its home. And so they found all the wonderful little trinkets and treasure that this wonderful blue dragon had. Okay, good on the adventurers. Now, done with the blue dragon area, or blue dragon portion of the quest, I should say, they thought, that was kind of rough. We used a lot of our rations and whatnot in order to explore this area. So, let's go back to the capital. Let's get some more, stocks. Let's get resupplied. And we'll talk to the head of the guard and whatnot. I cannot remember his name. I will look that up, though. We'll talk to him, find out how everybody, all the other adventurers, are doing with this challenge. And who knows? Maybe getting these 3 challenges out of the way kind of gives us a default win. 3 out of 5 or something like that. Or, we just took on a dragon. Maybe the rest of them, the adventurers, just be like, nah, this one's yours, man. Well, and actually it did turn out that way. They got back to the capital. They talked to the guard, who now that I'm thinking about it, I think his name was Gregon. But anyways, they talked to him, found out that of the other adventurers, a large portion of them had left the contest. So, they find this out, and they're like, okay, so we win. So they decide to stay there in the capital for a little bit while all of the necessary arrangements get made to basically place them in the role of the honor guard. They were going to meet the prince, perhaps meet the princess, get all this stuff figured out, kind of talk about what the path that this tour of the realm the prince and his soon-to-be wife were going to take. Yeah, it didn't work out that way. So, they are there in the capital. They get their supplies purchased, talk to a few people, and then Gragon, I'm just going forward with it, that's his name from now on, and he comes to them and is like, there's a problem. Because you are the honor guard, this is your job now. The princess has been kidnapped. So, go get her. I don't get it. Is there not anybody else who can play music around here? Ha ha ha. Alright. Look, the next time I'm in here, can I please get some different music? It's been the same person again and again and again.